Alright, what's going on YouTube? Another Hidden Cup 4 qualifier, this time seed 40, God of the Godless, a pretty skilled German player, versus a Fire, seed 25 of the tournament, the Brazilian versus the German over here. I will apologize in advance because I've been casting games live on Twitch the entire day. It's 8.5 hours of casting before this series, so we'll probably reach 10 hours by the end of this. So here are the map picks. Over here, God of the Godless picking Gold Rush and going with Cross. Other side is going to be Slopes for Fire, and he picks Bay. As I said, it's a little bit interesting that he bans, actually that was a ban from God of the Godless to ban Islands, but Fire prioritized Bay over Islands, which is a little bit surprising for me, because the thing is that Fire is known for being a pretty good Islands player. Venegor, thank you so much for the resub. Welcome back for the 10 months. We have a Fire fan in the house, I believe. So here is the civilization draft. We had parallel hidden bans, which means that it is possible to ban the same civilization. Has absolutely no effect on the outcome, to be honest. So doesn't matter how many times a civilization gets banned. If it gets banned once, it's not going to be usable for anyone. So Mayans, Saracens, Lithuanians, Berbers, Incas, and Goths available for God of the Godless. Fire will be rocking with Vikings, Huns, Chinese, Italians, Britons, and Ethiopians. And Mongols, Franks are the bans overall. I would think that we're going to see a Mayans versus a Chinese good old-fashioned show on Arabia. But I guess we'll soon see in a moment, because we have a surprise over here with a very, very long spec delay. They apparently set 4 minutes of spectator delay, so I will have to apologize and just tell you that we're gonna have to wait a couple of moments until we can jump into this game. It is what it is. I think it is up to the players how much spectator delay they do set. They actually went for 4 minutes, I believe, so we have 2.5 minutes to count down. But we have a surprising combination of civilizations over here. Vikings is not unprecedented on Arabia, but somewhat surprising given the fact that Fire had access to Chinese as well over here. God of the Godless going for Saracens. It's not impossible to go for Saracens because they could still be a very, very good Castle Age all-in civ. But for me, that kind of tells that God of the Godless isn't confident in his skill at just playing long games against Fire. So when you pick Saracens on Arabia, you pretty much declare that you want to play fast and aggressive games over here. Now, the Saracen Archer bonus was nerfed over here, and many people on the chat have been saying that God of the Godless loves playing Saracens. That's completely fine. I myself love playing Saracens as well, because as much as people are saying that the market abuse is a thing with Saracens, I feel like that gives you a lot of versatility. The problem that God of the Godless will be facing is that the Vikings will be having a much, much better eco, so much so that it will probably be able to compensate the market abuse benefit of Saracens. The other problem is, as I said, that Saracen archers are nothing special. They don't give you anything other than a building attack bonus, but that was also nerfed, so it's not as strong as it used to be. And all that the Viking player has to do is just match the archer numbers of the opponent, which shouldn't really be a big deal for a strong eco civilization. Like over here. Fun fact, as that is the courtesy of Bielo on the chat, thank you so much. God of the Godless was the player that played a 4-hour-long arena game versus Hera. And he was Burmese and Hera was Spanish, and Hera quit when Godless reached 100,000 score. I remember that game, but I didn't remember it was God of the Godless. I firmly remember seeing that game, and I think Hera was also be like, you know, I'm just going to play until he has to go to work or something like that. And that game was actually open for both sides, so it wasn't like, I don't know, Hera getting stomped. It was actually an open game until, I don't know, 2.5 hours. That was very, very fun to look at. So it was God of the Godless. We will see what he can do. Many people have been asking, like, I've casted a couple of games from him, but many people have been asking who he is or what is his alternate account. And the reality is that God of the Godless doesn't have an alternate account. He's just God of the Godless. He's one of the lesser known German players. Another prime example of how many talented players Germany has. So I think the German tournament has shown us that Germany has a lot of talented players. And I don't even know where God of the Godless finished in that tournament. If he played, I think he didn't get into the quarterfinals, right? Anyways, we are going to have a Fire playing on the southern part of the map in blue, and on the north we are going to have God of Godless playing as red. Saracens, according to chat, God of the Godless was seed number 3 in the German tournament and lost to 3-0 against Nili. And others are saying that Nili said that if he didn't prepare, he would have lost 3-0. So yeah, God of the Godless is a skilled player. I don't really remember him from Woobly. In fact, he's really one of the under the radar type of high level players. He really is a person that is just, you don't really take a notice of him until he actually plays in tournaments. So there are many players in the top 50 that I am like very well aware of. I've seen a couple of games from them as well. God of the Godless is not one of those. So he's really sort of a sneaky high level player that not a lot of people really know much about, to be honest. But it also means that this could be an advantage for him. He's somewhat unpredictable, I believe, and many of you are saying on the chat that he is also very unpredictable. Anyways, looking at the map of God of the Godless over here, stone at the back and gold at the back. This is actually a dream scenario for Saracens. The stone is pretty important for Saracens overall. We'll see how he's actually able to wall himself, but should be no trouble to wall like this, make the barracks, archer range over here or so. Remember that with Saracens you have a cheap market, and the market helps walling immensely. It's a huge building and it's very, very cheap for you. So being able to use that Saracen market to block like half of this space is also extremely helpful over here. And now he's going to push in Deer. So once again, seed 25 versus seed 40. I would think that based on pure skill, I'm going to say 3-1 for Fire. However, based on what you guys have said about God of the Godless being unpredictable and a very, very aggro player, it is possible that he's going to surprise Fire. Other side, we are going to have Fire playing with Vikings with what is also a very, very good map for him. Has a stone at the back, a gold at the back, and it looks like he's gathering 10 gold. So we will see a drush over here. Probably just a post-mail drush. So nothing super, super crazy right away from Fire. He's going to be fully walled probably relatively easily. And as I said, this gold mine isn't perfect, but it's alright. So you're going to place a barracks here, range somewhere around over here, and you should be more than happy protecting your base. You might even just use your TCS part of your wall. So do something like barracks, range, and then just wall here and wall here. That should be doable as well for Fire. So this is actually an interesting thing from Fire. He is Polycite tricking the bear, but I don't think that's actually happening anymore. This is not just capture rage. This Polycite trick used to work, so if the bear moves, that means that the opponent has a unit over here that's other than a siege weapon or a scout. However, this Polycite trick no longer works. This is the new patch, and they removed Polycite scanning over here. I'm just going to prove you that this doesn't work, okay? So it's not just capture rage not showing it. I'm going to switch back for a moment to the original game. Give me a moment to do that. And what you're going to see here is if I switch on Fire's point of view, you see that the wall foundation is over here, but he cannot see the bear that's on it. This was a change that was implemented in the most recent patch, and this used to be an extremely important trick for players, especially many Chinese and Vietnamese players were using this the most. Others have used it as well, but this was a thing that was extensively used by Chinese and Vietnamese players, not just on one bear, but multiple ones across the map. Was a pretty common trick on Arena to check for forward watchers, but that no longer works. That could be a thing, Scarface, though. That could be a thing, that maybe he just marked it so he remembers where it is when, in case he needs to get a sneaky villager up front. That could be a thing indeed, but I can't confirm that. Anyways, we are gonna have Fire going in with the drush here. The opponent does have a drush, or does Fire have a drush? No. Fire wanted to go for a Drush, and he has a Drush somewhere. Hello? Where are those militias at? Totally blind caster over here. Oh, Fire... What is Fire doing with his Drush over here? This is so weird. This is so weird. God of the Godless is walking back with his Drush. And I understand that Fire is just staying at home with the Drush to protect the villagers on the deer. That is understandable. However, I don't know why God of the Godless decided to just go back to his own base. It seems like both of them are just scared that the opponent is going to hit them with the Drush, and this is going to be everything but a Drush at the end of the day. Now Fire moves up, so it is going to be God of the Godless defending, but this is definitely one of the least aggro Drushes that I've ever seen. I would borderline call this just militia defense. Anyways, based on the villager distribution over here, I am already starting to see what you guys mean by Saracen market abuse, and just someone said on the chat that he's like the Archer Huang, so that he's going all in strategies with Archer plays over here. Speaking of that, please don't tell me that you're going to lose villagers to a Drush when you have your own Drush back at home, and that's not going to be the case. So he's going up the feudal over here, and from this point on, bring on the market, ladies and gentlemen. So, militias are still alive over here. Feudal Age will actually be better for God of the Godless. Fire is going for a Drush FC, but this is dangerous, to be honest. Because the thing is that Saracens will be able to just use the market in a way that they can buy themselves up to castle. That's not really going to be enough right now for God of the Godless, but it's not like it's impossible for him to react to the Drush FC of Fire immediately. Like, he's gonna be like, okay, my opponent is going for a Drush FC, fine. I can just use my market to catch up. Obviously, Fire is gonna have like a minute advantage into Castle Age, but here comes the market positioned on the wood line. He isn't really bothering walling himself up either. Double range coming in. Militia still with a reasonable amount of HP, and that scout is almost full as well. So God of the Godless had a pretty bad engagement with his own militias. And we got Scroy Debu. Thank you so much for the Prime sub. Welcome back. 3 months of support. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. There is going to be archers coming out pretty soon. Villagers should be able to deal with this one. And here, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything about Castle Age times. I feel a bit of a disgust right now. So when people are saying market abuse, this is what they mean. Like, there was a lot of AoE zone drama about, oh, market's too strong and players are just not having a good eco balance and they would just use the market to balance it out. I am fine as long as the players are, you know, really, if they have a little bit of a sloppy eco, they can use the market. I myself use it a lot when I'm playing. I don't know why God of the Godless is not fighting this. He should have pulled 5 villagers and take this fight instead of, I don't know, just chasing these militias all day. Now it's gonna be cleaned up, but the thing is that, as I said, that it's fine if you just use the market to make up for your lack of eco in case you're playing standard builds. But this was indeed a little bit ugly to look at. He was like, he went up to Feudal Age with like 50 food in the bank, dropped 2 ranges, and he's actually pulling off a 24+2 in terms of Castle Age timing, by the way. He just went for... I can't even imagine this. This is crazy, if you think about that. This is a Drush FC with 24+2. And Drush FC is 27+2 at minimum for other standard civilizations, unless you use your market extensively. Obviously, this is stone selling, so that saves up a little bit for time. But holy smokes, that is a Castle Age time. It's a 15-minute castle here, and the thing is that now God of the Godless will get a forward siege drop up here, and Fire is probably like, what the hell is going on? And I wonder if Fire expected this one over here. So indeed, the Saracen Hoang is actually going to be a thing here. If I wanted to make a clickbait title, I would say he's the Saracen Hoang. So Botkin is still missing. That is going to come in very soon. Obviously no eco upgrades, just the standard things. But I feel like you still need a siege workshop on the front. So The thing is that eventually Fire, if he gets up to Castle Age, he's gonna have the same amount of crossbows, but a stronger eco behind that. So I feel like this works well. But just as much as Huang needs to capitalize on the early Castle and he's doing that by forward siege of mangonels, God of the Godless has to do the exact same thing over here. Capitalize on the early Castle, the forward siege workshop, and I don't see that happening. And if it's just mirror crossbows, Fire is going to be able to match the crossbow numbers right now. It's 11 crossbows against 9. And the thing is that, oh, that's actually a pretty bad wall, by the way, from Fire. Speaking of that, that should be a little bit more forward to protect the gold mine, and it works well to just trade the crossbow numbers as long as you're able to make crossbows, and Fire will have a little bit of an idle time on him. Remember that the building attack bonus was actually nerfed from Saracens. However, they are actually still getting some boost, so they could actually try sniping farms, and Fire's food eco could collapse. God of the Godless. What is this eco balance? What is this eco balance? And based on the fact that you guys have told me as... look at that. Fire was away from the TC with the Vultures. So God of the Godless will commit right beneath the TC here. Right beneath the TC, and Fire sent the crossbows forward. Absolute disaster for Fire. Holy smokes. I mean, this counterattack may work out for Fire, but is he gonna have anything left back at home to defend? And God of the Godless will have a couple of crossbows to at least defend here with. And now it's a siege workshop. It's 3 villagers lead only for God of the Godless though. And as I said, Fire is coming in here with a couple of crossbows as well. But the thing is that this army is trapped in here though. So how are they going to exit? And that means that Fire could actually counterattack this one. And the thing is that it's not like God of the Godless has anything back at home, not like a siege workshop whatsoever. Fire knows about this wood line and he's moving up on it. Perfect eco for Fire over here. Goes back to a very, very nicely positioned forward wood line. Mangonels will start pushing, but God of the Godless, here comes the crossbow blob. That's a lot of dead villagers. In fact, it's way more than what Fire lost. So if you take a look at the villager count, there is also villagers being killed over here. So there's pretty much trading ecos, and we'll be in a situation where both players will have like 20 villagers after 30 minutes of gameplay. But God of the Godless seems like he didn't notice that his entire wood line was vibed. He's probably way too busy just mining the gold over here. And he has 25 villagers. 22 of them are actually over here. Make it 21. Make it 20 in a matter of moments. And now, do you know what he's gonna do? I think he's going to pull his villagers and make a mining camp over here. That being said, Fire isn't having a nice situation over here either. Just, you know, to have a good old evening / night game over here for us. This is already deep in the night for Europeans, so I think after this game you're gonna have nightmares. 0 villagers and any resources from God of the Godless. And Fire at least has villagers working. That is an advantage. However, Fire is 13 crossbows, and God of the Godless is a little bit more. Score is in the lead for Fire, and honestly, if you're God of the Godless, you might even... well, you don't really have the resources to lead the TC and replace it, but you could really make a case for just bringing your entire eco up over here, and market abuse shall continue. In the meanwhile, at least Fire has eco working for him. Right now, it's economy versus no economy, and Fire also has a 7 villagers lead right now. That could soon decrease because the villagers will be pushed away from the gold mine. Ah, that is beautiful. That's just majestic. TC idle time is up in the skies for both players, and imagine that we will have potentially 5 games out of this madness. When the thing is, as I said, I don't really know much about God of the Godless as a player. So I didn't know that this is his playstyle. Had I known this, I may not decide to cast this after 9 hours of casting other games. Because this is something that you're gonna need some strong liquor to survive. And yeah, this is exactly what I said. Fire has villagers working, and that's an advantage. It's 9 military over 23 now, so it seems like Fire will survive for the time being. And the problem is that this Mangonel isn't able to push Fire over here. So if this Mangonel was able to start harassing that gold mine, it would once again be a different game. Voyagers will be pulled to repair that Mangonel. Good news is that you still have a bit of a gold left in the bank. All your Voyagers are on wood. And, beautiful, right? Voyager gets picked off over here, Mangonel will be as well. And I think Fire is getting close to winning this game over here because right now God of the Godless has 21 Voyagers, 17 of that is on this screen and 4 of them is on screen, or on this screen. Both of these are sort of surrounded by crossbows, and it looks like Fire is going to take game number 1. What an entertaining game here in the middle of the night or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Beautiful. Just majestic. Now, I'm going to ask you a question, though, because, as I said, I don't know much about God of the Godless as a player. However, many of you guys said that you know that this is his playstyle and predicted what's going to happen before the series. This means that Fire wasn't really well prepared for this one, because had he known that this is the strategy and game style of God of the Godless, he would have banned Saracens. He actually banned Aztecs, and honestly, if I see this player, if I know that this is the guy, if this is the guy that just plays these all-in strategies, the first thing I do is ban Saracens. Ugh. Oh yeah, he's like the German Rubenstock, the Saracen Huang. There is so many comparisons that could be made. It's like, I love the Saracen Huang more, to be honest, but the German Rubenstock also is an interesting comparison. Okay, so Arabia is gone. That means that we will add a score to Fire over here. And we will be going into the first home map of God of the Godless, which is Gold Rush and Cross. So, speaking of civilizations, that's the wrong scene. We will have Vikings the win for Fire and the Saracens gone for God of the Godless. The thing is that Saracens was only the third pick of God of the Godless here. So what is he even planning with Mayans? Like, obviously the market strategy goes best with the Saracens. And the thing is that on Gold Rush, now I would think that Mayans is gonna be the scenario. And that would explain the Aztecs ban from him, because he doesn't want a Mayans versus Aztecs war. He wants Mayans, and potentially, I could think about Plumed Archers, to be honest, for him. Why did they both ban Aztecs? Is it a glitch? No, it's not a glitch. It is actually intentional, and the reason why is because they don't know what the opponent is banning while they are doing this. So it is a hidden parallel global ban, which means that you only get to know what your opponent banned after you have banned yourself. And it turns out that neither of them actually wanted to play against Aztecs. So yes, that's exactly what the stripes mean over here. An alternating yellow and blue stripe means that they do this in a parallel fashion, whereas yellow and blue solid is the pick for the respective player in the draft over here. And yeah, the same thing is there for the snipes as well. So it is also parallel hidden snipe. Alright, we're going into Gold Rush over here. And we have a Chinese versus Mayans setup with, once again, a disturbingly long spectator delay. I'm not sure whose idea this is, but driving casters crazy. How long could this spec delay be? 6 minutes? At least 5, but potentially 6 minutes of spec delay. That drives me nuts. Like, the thing is that in normal tournaments, you can actually call restart until the 4-minute mark. And now we're going to see a progress bar over here for 4:20. YouTube people will be like, hey, I'm just going to open this video because this matchup sounds good. And they are not ready for a caster that has been casting for 9 hours now being salty on this spec delays. Also, mods, have you actually played the previous predictions? What are you doing, my mods? I think we need that one to be paid. because it hasn't been done. So, Mayans versus Chinese, Gold Rush. Loomed Archers is a possibility. Theoretically, Eagles could be the play as well from God of Godless. Whereas on the other side, Chinese, somewhat versatile depending on how open the map is. I would think that Scouts or Archers could be the case, considering what you have told me about how all-in God of the Godless is with the Archer civ that he's playing. Skirmisher play could be also in the pocket of fire. So something like Scouts into Skirms could be more than reasonable overall. So, Piracy 25. He is sort of the outside looking in person of these qualifiers. No one would be surprised if he qualified, but it's going to be a tough one for him because he's C25 for a reason. So, Fire is a good overall player, but he hasn't had any exceptional tournament performances in recent memory. Before this series, we did discuss why, and the overall conclusion was that Fire never really became worse than what he was. It's about everybody else improving. Fire has a very, very consistent level of gameplay, but as many other pros said, a lot of people like Hera, Leary, Mr. Yo, and I've just said a couple of names here, improved a lot compared to their performance, let's say, 2 years ago. So Fire has always been a good player, but I think many other players have surpassed him because they were able to improve a little bit more in the overall gameplay speed. So, who are my top 10 or top 5? Viper, Hera, Leary, Yo, that's my top 4, and everybody else is a different group right now, I think. That's my objection. So there is a top 4 group, then there is a 5 to 10 group for me. I would put Doubt into the 5 to 10 group right now. If he's able to deliver a good performance on Hidden Cup, then I will put him potentially closer to the top part of the 5 to 10 region. But yeah, the 5 to 10 region is probably something like Viles, Dogao, Doubt, and you can argue on the other two. So yeah, it's hard to say. I think the top 4 is pretty clear. So that's basically the case. What is my favorite Hidden Cup 4 map to cast? I don't know. I don't really have a favorite. MBL, I think MBL depends on what tournament. That's basically the case. In an Arabia tournament, MBL I rate him much higher than on Islands only tournament. So I think MBL is one of the more map dependent picks in terms of where do you put it in ranking. So yeah, I would consider MBL to be a top 10 player, but it heavily depends on the map pool as well. ACCM is also making a strong case for top 10, yes. But it's pretty hard to evaluate because there is so many factors, like how much you actually take into account the Red Bull tournaments that are Empire Wars, how much you take into account team game tournaments and whatnot. So really, it is a complex topic, and this is why I usually don't discuss things like that because it's really hard to evaluate who's in the top 10, I would say. Vinci is indeed also in the top 10 discussion. A lot of people are in the top 10 discussion. I think the top 4 is clear right now. And based on performances, so in the Hidden Cup, for example, Viles' performance, Doubt's performance is going to be very interesting because they could solidify their position in the 5, 6, 7 spot with a good performance here. But yeah, indeed, the top 4 is way less scared than it used to be half a year ago. That's also a true situation. And that's actually very, very good for competitive H1 players that we have so many people that can potentially contest number 1 spots in tournaments. Anyways, let's get back to this series over here. So we'll be having Fire over here at the bottom of the map in blue Chinese. On the north, there is going to be God of the Godless in red. as Mayans, his map is actually pretty bad, to be honest. The wood lines are mostly vulnerable, however, the problem is that this gold mine is quite exposed, and this gold mine is also pretty bad over here, and you only have 2 deposits of gold mines over here, and that means at the end of the day, these gold mines are really exposed. You have a nice stone at the back, which can be very helpful for him with Mayans. Other stones on the front, which is not so nice. Other side is going to be Fire playing as Chinese in blue. So he's gonna have an okay-ish gold mine over here, but this is not perfect either. Berries are exposed, and overall, the vulnerability of Fire's map is somewhat questionable. Like, the most ideal wall would be over here, but that takes quite a lot of time to get up. If you actually get this wall up, it's actually a very nice wall, and then wall something like this. You don't need to wall the entire thing, you just need to kind of wall an arc so that you protect your berries, sort of, and potentially prevent your opponent's archers from hitting this food line. There's multiple ways that you can wall this, but none of them are actually amazing, I would say. The 2 maps seem to be rather close in terms of quality. So, it looks like Fire is having about a 1-ish Voyager lead only over the Mayan player, which isn't necessarily perfect, because you actually strive to have like a 1.5, ideally 2 Voyagers lead over the Mayan player, but not really a big deal right now for Fire, so he's going to be more than alright. Interesting house location over here for God of the Godless. I've noticed that in the previous game he didn't actually start walling his base, and that is a premium rush coming in here from a God of the Godless. Potentially a premium rush into FC, and plumed archers could be on the table for him. Obsidian arrows have been removed, so it's no longer an option to go for the Rush FC crossbow obsidian arrows. Other side, as I said, Fire could be potentially thinking about going for early skirms. The tricky thing is that he doesn't know if God of the Godless will go straight Eagles, because technically Rush FC Eagles could also be a possibility here. Anyways, we do have Fire Scout lurking around here on the second elephant of his opponent, and the Eagle for now is just running forward towards the opponent. Fire already has the second boar in right now, and we will see if this Voyager is going to bring in an elephant. And am I right about the fact that this Voyager didn't actually drop off the gold before switching to the hunt here? I may have been wrong, because no, this Voyager, oh, that's disaster. Fire is going to get that Voyager killed. He loses the scout, but the elephant goes back. And remember that that Voyager didn't drop off the gold before actually luring in the boar. That's very sloppy. So basically, if you change the type of resource gathering for a Voyager, you will lose the resources carried on it. For example, if you had a Voyager that was on food, and he had 10 food in his hands, you switch that Voyager to a gold miner, that Voyager immediately loses the food that he's carrying. Same thing happened here. The gold miner needed to drop off the gold here before actually going for the hunt. Wasn't that changed? I don't think it was changed based on the gold count. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was also thinking if this was changed or not, but just look at this. 2 militias and 10 gold in the bank. Like, as I said, if this was the case, well, obviously he would need to drop it off still, right? Okay, so shooting the boar is right. In that case, the problem was that he didn't jump into the TC and he didn't drop off the gold that was carried. Okay, I was wrong about that, sorry for that. As I said, there is so many games to cast that I don't have the time to read or remember all the patch notes. But the idea is that indeed the Vulture still had the gold on her, however, the Vulture was killed before reaching the town center and dropping that one off. So it seems that I was aware of the legacy behavior, and it is new now. God of the Godless will be laming away the Huntables from his opponent over here, and I was too distracted about discussing all these happenings, so let's take a look at the ecos. Fire killed one Vulture, but he also had 21 more seconds of idle time, which at the end means that the villager count didn't change considerably, sort of, and now Fire has a lot more idle time on his TC, 31 seconds to 10 seconds, and God of the Godless will be playing what seems like it's going to be a Drush FC. No, that can be a Drush FC. 25 is too few with the Mayans. 25 Drush FC with Mayans is equivalent of 24 with other civs. And that is way too fast. This has to be a Drush into Archer's play here. Anyways, militias here won't really be able to do much. Fire killed, as you see, one eco from his opponent, got lost. Actually, look at this. No, this is fine. God of the Godless killed one villager somewhere because he has one villager kill. And also, Fire had more idle time, so that is why, at the end of the day, when God of the Godless reaches Feudal Age, and by the time Fire catches up, the villager count will pretty much be even. Alright. Apologies for losing a bit of a focus. 9.5 hours of casting may have been a little too much for my brain. I will do my best to keep focusing on this, okay? Market. Market. Why do I have a feeling that that stone counter is going to hit 0 in a moment, and we're going to see this guy being converted into food, and stone being converted into gold over here with the market, and once again that would be a super aggro 24 villager timing Drush FC. That's crazy. That's actually very, very crazy. It's what he's doing, and I'm now starting to see the tendency. It is a 24 villager timed Drush FC, so he's making it happen 1 minute earlier than usual. Normally it would be 27, 28, just by selling stone. And the way that he's doing this is apparently he's delaying the blacksmith, so he's not upping with market, or not upping with blacksmith range, he's upping with range and the market, and the delayed blacksmith will only come in later on. And also, indeed, he lost the villager to a boar, so this is one later, but I feel like based on the previous game, he probably would have tried 24 villager timing as well. Obviously, with Mayans, that gives you 25, because you start an extra wall, and Drush FC does have Loom incorporated, so that is actually probably the same timing. Alright, so range is coming in here, and I assume that it's gonna be crossbows. I think if he wants to be really successful with this push, he needs to support that aggression with a forward siege workshop early on. Now, that being said, Fire is going for what is a market blacksmith strategy, and I wonder what he's up to, because Fire doesn't seem to have any buildings over here that are capable of stopping a crossbowman push. And indeed, it's a good question. If he's doing this strategy all the time, why is God of the Godless not walling more back at home? Especially with Mayans. You could just stonewall your base, and Fire would never be able to counterattack it. So Blacksmith is just coming in right now. This obviously means that you're not gonna get Botkin Arrow immediately, although this is crazy. God of the Godless is able to afford Botkin even. He will be able to get Fletching and Botkin. The reason why he's able to do that, by the way, is because he's not getting eco upgrades. So he's sacrificing his eco upgrades for a fast crossbow Botkin combo. But truth being told, what exactly is Fire going to do against this? So obviously he can go for defensive siege workshop, but he's gonna need 25 more seconds to do that. And that is already crossbows coming in here. Fire actually knows that there could be a push coming to his woodland. He has set up outposts over here, loses no villagers. Nice defense over there from him so far, and now probably siege workshop comes in here somewhere. Indeed, here it goes. So as I said, I feel like God of the Godless needs to get siege workshop himself on the front and support this crossbowman push with mangonels, because that's what makes a Hoang Rush aggressive and very, very devastating, that you're able to support your early military advantage in Castle Age with mangonels that take down buildings, and I don't see that from God of the Godless right now. So for now, it looks like Fire is going to be able to hold himself, although it is worth noting that one of his gold mines will be lost over here, and there may be a hole there as well. Scorpion coming in here as God of the Godless takes a shot, and for now he will disengage. Obviously the eco is going to be much better for Fire over here, but now God of the Godless is slowly voting himself up here, and as I said, the real question is, why is he not bringing a Siege Workshop as well? If you are playing this aggro, you might as well commit to it and just say, okay, I'm gonna go Siege Workshops and start knocking down town centers. Now the thing is that Fire is on free TCs booming. The TCs will be sufficient to protect your eco for the majority of the time, and Fire mining gold himself, so we may see a castle in the near future. This house is going to be good enough to keep the crossbows out for a moment. For Fire, crossbows here unable to kill anything as well. You see that there is still just one Vulture kill from God of the Godless, which was from the Drush. Indeed, the first eco upgrade that God of the Godless is picking in this game, and that, or not just in this game, in the entire series, first eco upgrade is going to be double bit axe for him. So, is there a Vulture coming now? There is a Vulture coming. There is quite a lot of lions over here, so you kind of have to escort that guy around. And the thing is that this could still be dangerous overall for Fire, because yeah, he's got a Siege Workshop, but those are Scorpions, and if Mangonels start showing up, things could get rougher, especially because a blob of crossbows here, a blob of crossbows here, and Mangonels pushing from this side would make Fire unable to access basically any wood. He's got very little within his own base over here. And here comes the Siege Workshop. Right now, Fire is already having a 16 villagers lead. You can say that his economy is on fire. And in the meanwhile, we'll have God of the Godless just sitting back, chilling right now back at home. 1 TC all-in sort of a strategy for him. And here comes the Mangonels eventually. Question. He could also go for egos against Siege. Technically, yes. In reality, no. Because the thing is that unless you start teching into egos and grab the armor upgrades, you will just get taken down by the TC Fire if you just use standard egos. And also, there's walls up here, so you won't be able to hurt those Scorpions until you get through the walls here. So Mangonels is just a much simpler choice. Plus, Mangonels also allow you to kill buildings as opposed to egos. And I just don't think that God of the Godless has the eco to tech into egos here. And indeed, that's another good pun on the chat. As I said, I feel like I'm starting to get burnt out a little bit more every minute I'm casting today, as we are getting closer to 10 hours. We can only hope his greedy boom won't backfire. Badoom. Alright, so the thing is that now what God of the Godless has to build upon is actually being able to push with Mangonels. Alternative is that he needs to be able to castle drop, which is just a distant dream for him. So in order to be able to break a situation like this, you kind of have to be able to either start destroying TCs and impacting the opponent's eco, or the alternative is that you have to be able to just start pushing into base with a castle, for example. Now, this is a nice position for God of the Godless. He's got the hill, and he's firing down hills, and that means that this Siege Workshop is going to go down really fast. Like, God of the Godless is going to melt that Siege Workshop in 5 seconds, and now it looks like Fire is teching into Knights here. He is having +1 defense, and God of the Godless may be unprepared for this one. He's got a couple of crossbows out here, and they do have a Botkin. Tries to repair that Siege Workshop, that's not gonna happen. That Siege Workshop goes down immediately. And the question is, like, Fire's gonna have to wait until he gets a good amount of Knights out. So probably with +1 defense, at least 8 or 9. With +2, probably 7, 8 could be reliable. And look at this! This is what you were telling me, that he is the Archer Hoang. Holy smokes! Imagine if you just combine Hoang and this guy into one body. What would that be looking like? 6 Mangonels make it 7, and the God of the Godless will soon spot this table. So he knows that he's up against Knights. We'll see if he's adding more crossbows. Yes, he does. Oh, that's a lot of Mangonels. And the thing is that they will melt TC is very fast. How is that? Mayans eat TC? So yeah, he's getting close to being Hoang of the Hoangless instead of God of the Godless. There is not a lot of knights in here for Fire because he's housed. He's got 6 knights. And Fire is getting Hoanged here pretty badly. Because that is the final mangonel that he has alive. So if he loses that, he's not gonna be able to fight this. And there's still 5, 6, 7 mangonels. And the thing is that Fire is losing buildings faster than he's able to replace them. There is another siege workshop here, but as I said, the buildings are just melting. You can say that his entire base is on fire. Yeah, I'll have to stop this. Because everybody is just going to leave here. Please, YouTube viewers, don't close the stream. I'm usually not like this. Oh, this is a fitting end to today's stream, I have to say. Now, I would say that Fire is in a little bit of a trouble. Because last time I checked, he has 4 knights, which is actually 7. With +2 defense. Now, he's making a castle. But, as I said, is that gonna be a doubt castle? That could be a doubt castle, like 7 mangonels. It's like, hello there, Fire. Are you even gonna get that up? All you need to do is just keep ground attacking with those mangonels. Crossbow's a little bit mispositioned over here, but yeah, Fire is not gonna get that castle up, and Fire's got 26 idols, so technically, God of the Godless actually has a better eco than his opponent does. Nice splits over here from him, ends up being a 1-for-1, and that's a 1-for over there. So suddenly, God of the Godless loses all his mangonels. Fire waiting for the pop as we got Fade AoE with the new Prime sub. Thank you so much, I appreciate it a lot. And apparently Fire appreciates the fact that he was able to take down 7 mangonels over here. That was crazy though. That was crazy because now he's able to counterattack, and that might be a life-saving thing right now for him. Like, actual life-saving. And here is more and more knights, so here the mangonels won't help you anymore, as the knights will just slowly overrun this one. And oh boy, he could be losing this game after just destroying Fire's base. Look at that, Feed is gifting 5 subs to the community. Thank you so much as well. I appreciate your support. Thank you, thank you. Fire, I think, played this one smart. So he was waiting for the opportunity. He waited until he has the knights. And you can't just go greedy and say, okay, I have 2 knights, I'm gonna take this down. You need to make sure that you actually finish this push off. But the thing is that Fire technically has a 20 Voyagers lead, but still an awful lot of idols, so he's gonna have to fix his eco. What is his opponent up to? He's up to just calling GG here. What a comeback from Fire. It seemed like he's gonna get Hoang pretty much, but then he survived. One thing I would like to add is that based on time zones, Fire often plays and streams in a time zone where Hoang plays as well. And honestly, getting tens of games against Hoang helps you immensely as well. And Raidline is also gifting us up. Thank you so much as well to you for the contribution. So, oh man, this is going to be more and more chaotic. Like, the game number 1 was already very chaotic. I would love to see, honestly, all I can think about right now is how Hoang versus God of the Godless show match would look like. You need a best of 21 between these 2 legends. Hoang versus God of the Godless, best of 21. That's our goal for our next event. Okay, so we'll go back to the lobby over here, add the score to Fire, and we will be taking a quick look at the draft in a moment. Fire so far has been playing rather confident, but we'll see what God of the Godless can do. 2v2 Hoang and Lix versus Ruben Stock and God of the Godless. The world is not prepared for this, my friends. The world is not prepared for this. Okay, so draft-wise, what do we have over here? We have Mayan's gone, which was the first pick of God of the Godless, and Fire is losing Chinese. And the final home map of God of the Godless is Cross. So I would think it's Hans from Fire. I don't think it's Italians. Italians will probably be saved up for Bay. So Hans is the more likely scenario. Normally it could be Lithuanians, but I wouldn't be surprised on anything, to be honest now. Like, there is Lithuanians, which would be the straightforward pick. Then you have Incas available, you have Goths available, so you have a variety of ways of being able to play a very aggressive game. Alright, let's look for the game, and let's venture into the lobby that has a 6 minute spec delay set on it. And we have the next game up. And this is going to be our bonding time, just you and me, chat, as we are going to have some discussions while we're waiting for the, once again, 3-minute long spec delay over here. And as I said, the straightforward pick would be Lithuanians, but who am I to tell? There is your Goths. So what are we expecting here? It was Archer played both games from God of the Godless. Gods could be useful for potentially laming huntables, even though that's not really that big of a deal on a map that is full of fish. Obviously, it's going to influence your opponent, but still, hunt laming isn't going to be as big as it could possibly be on Arabia or other maps where there is no fish. Why has Hans become such a much used pick on this map? I think it's a combination of mobility, having a strong eco, and overall just being very, very nice as a hybrid civ. I think Hans also gives you one more thing here, is that the fact that you don't have to go for houses reduces the APM requirement of managing your eco a little bit. So Cross is actually a very, very APM heavy map because you have to focus on potentially multiple lakes and potentially land combat in the middle and your eco. So it's actually very, very APM heavy. When I'm playing, I'm always banning it because I'm a slow player and I know that there is no way I can manage all of that at the same time. The fact that you actually do not need to build houses pretty much frees up some of your APM so that you can focus on anything else. So yeah, that's actually something. The other thing is that the population often escalates pretty fast because you're making land army, you're making fishing ships, you're making potentially fire galleys on multiple lakes. So really, Hans can be reasonable from that aspect, but probably the main reason is because on Cross, you also play 1 TC for the majority of the game, or at least in early to mid Castle Age, unlike other maps. And Huns have a very, very nice 1 TC play with Cav Archers. So that's another added advantage. The map is open enough for Huns to be really efficient with the Cav Archers. Plus, Huns overall is a very, very versatile civ. So you can play Scouts, you can play Archers with them. And I think overall, the combination of these makes them one of the best civs over here. Lithuanians can do something very, very similar. In fact, Lithuanians will have a stronger eco than Huns in this one because they can go for the fast dog build. But other than that, I probably, if I had to play this map, I would probably pick Huns for myself as well, because as I said, one of the things that you get with that is at least you don't have to bother with houses. Alright, so 26 seconds left, and the real question is what will Gods do in Castle Age, because they don't have any specific bonuses towards a push that is Archers and Mangonels. So we may see something completely different from God of the Godless, but it is possible that he will just try to brute force an Archer play here. Gods do have crossbows, right? Yeah, they do have crossbows. No idea about thumb ring, so technically Gods can do Castle Age Archer pushes, but obviously this is by far not the civilization that is most reasonable for that. Alright, we got Fire on the left in blue as Huns, right side is going to be God of the Godless in red as Gods. So quick look at the map, as we already have no loom on these villagers, so God of the Godless isn't going to go for the fast loom and laming strategy. We will have him a little bit further away from the pawns, which is somewhat unfortunate for him, whereas Fire has a nice little back pond over here. Easy to drop off a dock here, and in fact, this would be a very, very nice dock spot because you could access 2 shorefish over here pretty easily with that Voyager. Easy deer push as well. The gold mine is workable, but not amazing. A little bit open on the right. South also isn't that great with all those berries being out there on the front, but we have seen worse. And here comes the instant loom. And that for me tells that we are going to have at least 1 Voyager being sent out over here for a pond. And the instant loom means that the Voyager will not be picked off by the opponent's scout. That could be an added benefit of having Gods over here. And it sort of seems like we're just going to see a deer push. If you would want to lame your opponent here, you would probably pull your scout and start scouting on what you can actually lame over here. So I wonder if God of the Godless now just wants to play standard. I know, famous last words. But maybe he thinks, hey, my all-ins didn't work out, maybe try something else. It's going to be tricky because Hans will probably be a slightly better receiver on this map than Gots will. That being said, late game Gots could be able to dominate Hans, right? Because you're going to have an answer to the Cav Archers with the Huskars, you're going to have an answer to the Paladins with the Halberdiers, and Huns are missing the infantry armor in Imperial Age, and Huns also don't have hand cannoneers, so they don't really have good infantry to deal with the actual infantry of the opponent. Can Gods survive until that point though? No, absolutely not. So that is the main problem that you're facing, that in late game, like very late game, Gods will dominate the game over Huns. The problem is that Cross is, in like 80% of the cases, decided in mid-Castle Age-ish. Based on who has more pawns, based on who is able to do a little bit more raiding with such an open map. So it is somewhat rare, even though not unprecedented, that there is a post-Imperial scenario here. I have seen post-Imperial scenarios on Cross, and they can be crazy. It's actually one of the more entertaining maps to watch when it comes to post-Imperial scenarios. Even though it wasn't a random map tournament, but Deathmatch World Cup had quite a lot of these post-Imperial carnages on Cross that were like 2 hours long, and those were amazing. I think Lan was playing in one of those. And I firmly remember, maybe it was Lan versus Vinch, or was it Baraka? I don't remember that, but there was a crazy Cross game in Deathmatch World Cup 3. I remember that, and I think Lan was playing on the right side in red. Alright, so Doc is up over here for Fire, interestingly positioning it over here in the corner. And he also started taking the Ibex here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you take the Ibex, your Voyager is going to have 30 food on it. And that food is something he's going to be able to drop off at the dock if you retask that Voyager on Shorefish, right? So if you take 25 food, let's say, from an Ibex, you task that Voyager on Shorefish, that Voyager will immediately walk to the dock and drop it off, right? That's very smart from Fire then. Because you can pretty much oversaturate with your Voyager with food over here while you are waiting for the wood to pile up for the dock. So that's actually very smart from Fire. Anyways, we'll have docks up for both players. No one is surprised about that. God of the Godless is actually one Voyager behind, surprisingly. How is that happening? It's more like half a Voyager, probably just TC idle time over here. And let's see if he's going to eat Fire's TC Fire over here. Gets a little bit of damage done on his scout and sees the wood line. So we haven't really seen why the God's pick has occurred so far on this map. There was no laming attempt, there was no drush either. So we actually have zero idea on why gods are being used over here by God of the Godless. He's going up the feudal age here. It is a 24 overall eco. This is something that he did in the previous games, but he's sending free on gold, free on wood. Keeps quite a lot on food though. Why do I have a feeling that this is not a standard just fire a galley play and with a sneaky Voyager? Because this feels a little too much left on food for that. Right? Okay, now he's getting wood. Don't tell me he's going to play standard. After the first two games that were absolutely chaotic, I want to see some chaos. Alright, so for now, Fire might actually wall himself up over here, which would be pretty important overall, because if you wall himself in over here, then God of the Godless will not be able to sneak a dock up here. I think Fire is just looking for a sneaky villager here, but he's going to find none, so he's just going to say, okay, I'm not getting snuck upon. This is actually a very smart play as well from Fire. It would be ideal if he could wall this one off, so there is absolutely no chance of a sneaky dock in the future, but for now, this is going to do fine for Fire. And he is going to get a sneaky villager over here, which will be spotted by God of the Godless. Initially, that was the plan. That's why he's having 4 villagers on gold. And potentially, it would have been archers and fire galleys here. But the fire galley plan is going to stop, or will it? Fire might actually use his own scout to escort this villager. And it looks like God of the Godless is going to ignore this. And this villager will eventually get a dock up here. Men-at-Arms is the name of the game now. Men-at-Arms and double ranges. Is it gonna be like double range skirms and then 4 Men-at-Arms? That could be dangerous, to be honest, especially because Fire is going for archers. That would be very, very dangerous. Now, God of the Godless does have his fishing geek over here, but he has no idea that Fire is sneaking a dock up on him. And Men-at-Arms, archers, in kind of an other fashion. And the second barracks. Okie dokie. So I wanted to see some chaos. I think I'm going to see some chaos over here. The question is, can you actually afford to make units on all 4 of these buildings? And I think the answer is absolutely not. So double ranges, double barracks, even with gods that have cheaper infantry, I would doubt that you can sustain a reasonable production with 7 on food from double barracks. And obviously, this could mean that he's just going to idle his TC over here because he's not going to have the food income to supplement a Men-at-Arms and archer push like that. As here comes the first fire galley. Get it? Fire galley. From our Brazilian player on the southern pond. And now Fire knows that this is going to be Men-at-Arms. So with no fish, God of the Godless is going to have a pretty miserable food eco over here. However, Fire only has 2 archers. And he only has 1 range, so in theory, especially if there was a couple of skirms added here by God of the Godless, this could still be scary for Fire. Because he's gonna get outnumbered by archer numbers, and look at this flood! What am I looking at? This reminds me of the era where the Gods Dark Age bonus was so strong that everybody went for full Dark Age rushes with Gods. And honestly, 13 military against 6. Fire has a much better eco, so at this point he's 34 against 27, and that's soon going to be even lower, even though God of the Godless now realizes that there is actually fire galleys being put into his face. And the thing is that Fire will not be able to replenish the fire galleys if he loses the gold mine, and he will lose this gold mine. Because this tower is gonna go up, but it's gonna go down really fast over here. Fire taking down one of the Men-at-Arms over here. Men-at-Arms are just so cheap over here, as he's now getting skirms in the party. And villagers on garrison, Fire has no gold income. He's gonna have to move over here, and that means that God of the Godless could potentially win this fight over here, because he will have gold and his opponent won't. More archers coming in here, and villagers jump into the TC over here for some added firepower. And get it? Firepower. I told you that you have to bring in your fire jokes for a set that is being played by Fire over here. So, Bear is evacuated. The thing is that this is the part of Fire's eco that is impossible to be touched. And look at all this counterattack over here. Now, the thing is that God of the Godless could make a couple of archers and clean this one up himself, but that could once again cripple him. And the Men-at-Arms are slowly coming out, but it's not like they're absolutely devastating Fire's eco, and at the end of the day, Fire still has a 12 villagers lead. So, make it even more over here. The archers will come in and help out, but as I said, the fishing eco is just too much right now for Fire, and it looks like he's gonna be able to clean up the fishing eco of his opponent here. And another villager bites the dust over here, and it's 18 kills to 1 death only. So, it is often said that with gods, you don't really care about having a negative KD. That may be a little bit too much, 22 to 1. another Voyager bites dust, and we may see an extremely one-sided final game over here with what was planning to be a men-at-arms, archers, all-in type of a thing, but ended up being an absolute double barracks into GG build. God of the Godless, now I see why he's renowned and why he's called the Archer Hoang. I have to say that this was a special experience. There are those series where those are 3-0 stomps, and there are one of those where it's like, what did I just even watch? And this is one of those series. So, if you were watching this on YouTube, hopefully you have enjoyed. Fire advances to the next round over here, keeps his dream alive to get into Hidden Cup 4. As I said, he is kind of the outside person looking in. It's not impossible that he's going to be qualified, but it's going to be tough for him to get into the main event. But anyways, this was the story for God of the Godless. He tried the all-ins and it didn't work out.